Sorry, everyone. What is going on? I think we have 5 people join. People are trickling in, so I'll get started in a minute, but let me share my screen really fast. Okay, share this one. Cool. All right, while we wait, we have Mark calling in from, oh no, Crypto Nerd is calling in from Greece. Mark, I don't know where you are, but welcome. I'm currently calling in from LA. We have Tony behind the scenes, who is in New York. Vasilis. Awesome. Vasily. Nice. And Mark is calling in from Phoenix. Sweet. All right. All right. I will get rolling, actually. We have a good amount of folks. Feel free to comment in the chat if you have any questions, but if you guys have been here before, I'm going to kick off with something you probably have seen, but I think it's worth going through because it might pick up or it might spark a couple questions. But same as last time, I'm going to go really quickly through the process of adding an ad to um, your newsletter and how to choose between a CPM or a CPC if you have the option, and then a little bit of formatting. And then that's it. I'll just open it up for Q&A. We can chat about anything that you're thinking about on the ad network. If I don't have the answer, I'll give you my email. We can follow up over email and put you in touch with the right person or get you the answer offline. But that's it. All right, let's jump in. Cool. Dan asked, do you need a particular size audience to access any of these? No. So any newsletter of any size gets access to the ad network as long as you're on a paid plan. And if you're on a paid plan, you have a guarantee minimum of at least 4 ad opportunities sent to you each month. Each ad opportunity, I'll actually go into this in a sec. So I'll actually answer a couple questions as we go along, but I'm on my homepage. This is a newsletter that I kicked off a couple months ago, took a break, coming back to it. It's called Get a Job, and it's a jobs listings newsletter. But in terms of ads, when you get an opportunity from an advertiser through the ad network, your ad opportunities will show up in its ads page. You'll also get an email that tells you, hey, this advertiser is looking to sponsor you. This is how much you could get paid. The same thing will happen in a notification. So I just have a notification that something expired. You'll also see that any ads that you get invited to, you'll get a notification in your notice tabs as well. But let's jump in. So actually, I'm going to jump into posts really quick. So I'll just show you that I have a bunch of posts here. I set up a duplicate post that I'll go and edit. So if you imagine you're writing your newsletter, you have everything set up and you realize you want to put an ad in there. In this case, I have a pretty standard format for my newsletter, and I save this center spot for a sponsor. So whenever I do have a sponsor, I go in here, I add a sponsor in there. If I don't, I just take this section out and I run the newsletter. But cool, so let's go through the whole process. So I'm going into the ads tab. I've gotten a notification that Codium wants to sponsor my newsletter. So you see in this block, you'll see some information about the opportunity. So you'll see that Codium is the advertiser, a little bit about the company. You can open up their website, check it out. You'll see when the actual campaign is running, so between October 1st and the end of the year, and that you could get paid on a click basis or on a cost per thousand open basis, and that I have 15 days to respond to this newsletter. Anybody on here who has run ads before, you'll probably notice that that expiration date is much longer. We used to send ad opportunities and essentially give you 2 or 3 days to reply to the opportunity. We got a lot of feedback, honestly, that just wasn't enough time. Or we started recognizing that people would reach out to us and say, hey, we didn't receive an ad for this month, or we didn't receive an ad this week. What gives? And then we look into the account and um, we see that they actually did receive an ad, but they just didn't see it in time. That expiration date was too small or too short. So we expanded that to 14, 15 days. So anytime you go into your ad dashboard, you should see at least 1 or 2 newsletters or 2 ad opportunities available to you. Hitesh, I'm going to jump into your question in a second after I go through this. Cool. So just jumped into this ad opportunity. And again, it shows you a little bit about the company. You can click on that link and just learn about the business, make sure it's a good fit for your newsletter. And then you can see that you'll get paid on a CPC, so $2.60 per click or $10 per 1,000 opens. In order to actually run the newsletter or run the campaign, you go through the flow of choosing the date they want to run it. So let's say Friday the 13th, lucky day. I'm sending out that newsletter, and I want to include an ad on that day, so I just choose that day. And then you get to choose if you want to get paid on a cost per click or a cost per 1,000 opens. In my case, this newsletter is very small. There's about 300 subscribers, solid open rates, solid click-through rates. In general, I know that if I get a handful of clicks, I could make 10, 15 bucks. Whereas with the cost per 1,000 open, because I only have 300 or so readers, and I might get 150, 200 opens, that payout is going to probably come out to be less than on a click. So I'm doing some mental math here to just understand what I think I'm going to get paid out more of. We will start building in some calculators in here so you can estimate what you might earn per process or whichever of these monetization methods you choose. But for now, you can do a quick back of the napkin math and make your decision based on that. Cool, so chose CPC, and then I get to look between the 3 different available creatives. So if I want to, I can open these up. I can toggle between all of them. So this is how the ads are going to look when you place them in your newsletter. A little bit of context, and you'll see this in a sec, but when we have that logo at the top in partnership with, that logo is going to go at the top of the newsletter. You can move it around, but it's not married to the rest of the ad. Those 2 are separate. You'll see that in a sec. And then you can also test the ad link. So sometimes the ad link is different from the landing page of the company. So we add that in there so you can click on it and make sure you understand where exactly you're going to be sending your readers if they click on the ad. Cool. So let's say I'm happy with this version A. It's a primary placement. I will select this version. So I've selected the date, the payout type, the version of the creative I'm going to run, and then I'll click review and accept. Final confirmation. I'll accept it. This pop-up will show up that basically nudges you to add that campaign to a new post, or if I choose to add it later, I'm basically just saying I already know where I'm going to put it. So I chose add it later, and then I'm going to jump back to the posts. So that post that we were looking at earlier. I'm going to edit. Let's let it load. And then I'll jump back down to that section, a word from our sponsor. And then all you need to do to actually add an ad into the newsletter is do the / type in ad, click on advertisement, and then you'll see all the ads that you've chosen that you could run that day. So I'm going to choose Codium, and let me show you a preview. Cool. So the preview shows up. It shows me in partnership with Codium at the top. And then if I scroll down, you'll see that ad in there. What I would actually like to do is change how that top section looks. I have my own logo and my own section here. I don't really love having this logo at the top of the newsletter or above the newsletter logo. So what you can do is jump in here, click this toggle button, and hit insert manually placed logo. That then shows the logo up here where it typically is, and I can do a couple things. So I can change the sponsor's text. So instead of saying in partnership with, I want to say today's sponsor. And then I can adjust the image itself a bit, so I can make it a bit smaller. I can change the alignment. I want to keep it centered, but I'll show you you can do it right or left. And then you can also move it. So it doesn't need to be at the top. I can move it below the Get a Job logo. Let's hit preview again. Cool. So that looks a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. I could put it elsewhere, but I think that's fine. And then one other thing that typically gets lost in the shuffle is you can actually change the formatting of the background and the coloring of the text in an ad. So I can jump in here, change the visual settings. So I'll make this background black, and then I'll change the text color to, let's just do green. I would never actually do this, but just to show you guys what it looks like. Cool. Oh, yeah, there. Sweet. Okay, so then I'll preview again, and I scroll down, and you see the black outline and then the green text. So this really helps, gives you a little bit of flexibility if you want the ad to stand out, or if you want the ad to have the same background of a section that you built, or if you just have a specific way you want to do things, you can make sure the ad is incorporated into your newsletter in a way that looks really good. We get feedback on this a lot, specifically around adjusting the formatting of an ad in terms of the headers, the sizing of the font, the types of font, all that stuff. We're working on making that a little bit more flexible, but a lot of people don't realize that you can have some, or you do have some control over the formatting of an ad. So just wanted to share that. Cool. Okay, that's enough for the demo. I'm going to stop sharing and I'll just jump to questions. All right. Cool. Hitesh asked, can we bring a third-party partner for the ad monetization? Yeah, you can. So we're going to be releasing a couple tools that make this easier, but right now, if you work with an advertiser directly, that doesn't need to go through the ad network. You can basically just work with the advertiser, get the copy and creative that they want to put in the newsletter, work with them over email, however you work with them, and then you just write the ads into the newsletter, just like you normally would. So instead of going through the ad network, you would just come in here and copy, and then you just plug it in. So it's super simple. People do that all the time. Dan asked, how is this different than Boosts? So Boosts is specifically focused on newsletter to newsletter recommendations. At the end of the day, a reader could see a boost in a newsletter, written into a newsletter that is promoting another newsletter, and it feels like an advertisement for that newsletter. In that case, fundamentally, it's not that much different from a reader perspective, but from your perspective, boosts are very much focused on newsletter to newsletter advertising. You get paid and you earn and you pay out if you're running a boost yourself on subscribers. So if you drive a subscriber to another newsletter and they stay and become a verified reader, that's how you get paid out. On the ad network, most of the ads on the ad network are other advertisers, brands that are selling products or services, stuff like that. We do have some newsletters that run ads through the ad network. In that case, the goals are the same as boosts, but the advertiser is paying on a click, and the publisher that's running that ad is getting paid on a click also. Cool. Oh, Hitesh meant, can you work with the programmatic ad network? You can. We have some documentation on how you can incorporate things like live intent, and I can follow up on that. But yes, you are able to do that. I'm not sure if we support every single programmatic ad network, but we've definitely worked with a good amount of publishers who work with that, live intent, Gene, a couple others. Cool. Anurag asked, I have about 380 subscribers and still haven't received any ads yet. Cool. Anurag, if you could email me, actually, this is a perfect follow-up. I'm just going to put my email in the thread. It's jacob@beehiiv.com. Just send me a link to your newsletter and we'll make sure you get ads and we'll check out why you don't have any. I have a hunch that we ran into that issue with a quick expiration where you had 3 days to reply, and that might have not mapped up to when you were on the platform, or you just might not have seen them. Either way, we'll get you some more ads. Oh yeah, cool. Sorry, I was just talking to Tony. He's behind the scenes. I don't think you guys can hear him. Um, cool. Facility, yeah. You can mention there's flexibility. You can match advertiser ads to the layout of your newsletters. For the most part, you can. We're working on making that better. Um, and also asked, how do you filter on ad types? So right now, there's not a ton of filtering, to be honest, when you're receiving different ads. However, when you go into that flow of choosing an ad that I walked through, you'll see the different creative options, and you'll see if there's a primary ad or a secondary ad. The only difference with a primary versus secondary are a secondary ad is typically a little bit shorter, and there's also no logo at the top of the newsletter. But at the moment, those are the only two ad types that we have, and you'll see a little tag at the top when you're choosing creative types. Okay, all right, guys. Sorry, no, yeah, I'll look into it, and I'll make sure you get some newsletters or get some ads. Dan asked, do you need to have sent a certain amount of emails? I've only sent 2 so far, and saying beehiiv needs more data, about my newsletter. Technically, no, but as we get more data about newsletters, we have a much easier time understanding what kind of advertisers we should send. So if we get to the end of a month and we see, hey, your newsletter hasn't received enough ads, we'll send you campaigns that we know are open to kind of broad targeting and broad audiences. But yeah, the more you send, the more knowledge we have on the type of content you write about, and the better we're able to match your newsletter to an advertiser. Also, I will say, maybe I'll put this on a couple slides next time we do this, but if you haven't gone into the settings of your newsletter and made sure that you choose tags for your newsletter, so these are newsletter tags, content tags, not tags on your individual posts. You can choose 3. Those tags help us a lot to determine which newsletters should receive which ads. And then also, if you don't have a description about your newsletter, or if that description isn't up to date, I would go and update that. That's another big indicator that helps us weed out certain newsletters when we're looking for advertiser matches. So Dan, if you're just getting started and you haven't done those 2 things, it's very possibly why we haven't identified your newsletter for an ad yet. Anurag, same deal. One more cue. Does the platform also do auto segmentation of readers? That would be awesome for advertisers. I agree. We don't yet do that on the ad network, but we will. Our goal is to get to a point where, say you're a publication, you accept 5 different ads, and we serve the right ad to the right person of those 5 when you send out a newsletter. We don't do that yet. That will be in our future, TBD on that timeline. But yeah, we're thinking along those lines as well. Dan asked, how do you get that data? Is it based on what I'm writing about? Yeah, so same thing as tags. When you write about certain topics and we see engagement rates, open rates, etc., that topic analysis helps us understand if we have the right advertisers for you. So advertisers come to us, they tell us, hey, this is the product that we're launching, this is the service that we're providing, this is the goal or business metric we're trying to improve. And then we do our best job of going out and finding publications that speak about the right topics or have proxies to represent an audience that could impact that business objective or be interested in buying that product. So essentially, the more information about what you write about and how engaged your audience is, the better we'll be able to understand what campaigns might work for you. How could a content creator become an advertiser? Cool. Actually, exactly what Anurag just did. Right now on the advertiser side, everything is a managed service. So you work with me, somebody from my team, and we'll get you started. I will say the starting campaigns or campaigns start at a 10K budget, and we guarantee around 2,500 unique clicks. So we have a relatively high bar in terms of budget for advertisers. But if that's something that you're interested in, would love to talk, and we can get you rolling. I'll shoot my email again in here. But yeah, we have plenty of publishers that are advertisers or publications that are not newsletter publications, just web publications that advertise with us. You've probably seen a couple of those come through, like Rundown, 1440, AI Tool Report. Those are all newsletters sponsoring other newsletters on the ad network. Cool. Let me pull up some questions that people typically ask. Oops, hold on. Yes, I agree. It'll, just reading Vasily's note, he mentioned enabling content creators to be active on the ad network will help grow the platform and help content creators grow 100%. Cool. Some folks ask about measurement and what we measure and how advertisers determine success. So a couple things. We're about to introduce what's called a pixel. Most ad networks use a pixel. It's essentially a piece of code that's placed on the advertiser's website that helps us figure out, hey, if traffic is coming from this newsletter, a lot of that traffic is driving conversions. That gives us as a platform indicators that that newsletter is driving high quality results. And again, it enables us to have more data on top of the type of content and the engagement rates that newsletter is worth sending more ads to. We also have advertiser feedback. So we don't share the name and the link to each newsletter when an advertiser runs ads with us. They're running ads across hundreds of different newsletters. We don't share all of that info, but we share a unique ID that's associated with each publication. And advertisers can tell us, hey, here are the 10 unique IDs that we saw drive high quality results. We take that list of IDs into account and we send more ads to those newsletters, and we also use that to find other newsletters that look similar. So again, kind of back to some of the earlier questions, combination of content, tagging, descriptions, in terms of finding the right advertisers at first. And then on top of that, when a campaign gets going, essentially, is the campaign working? And if it is, what newsletters are driving that success? That enables us to identify more newsletters or the right newsletters within a campaign to optimize. Vasily asked, now that you mentioned a pixel, what about filtering, email filtering to avoid fake emails being entered? Yeah, so in general, we have a bunch of bot detection, either bot detection, which are malicious bots, or bots that are essentially security bots that are just clicking on links to make sure somebody's not opening up an email that is malicious. We have a bunch of technology that's trying to remove those as clicks that an advertiser is paying for. And then also if, I guess that is fake emails being entered. I'll try to answer this question. Let me know if I'm not answering what you're asking. But we do have a good amount of advertisers that are driving towards. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm gonna finish my thought and then I'll come back to you, Vasily. We have a bunch of advertisers that try to drive towards a lead, and usually what that means is that you drive readers to a landing page that has an input form for an email, like an interest, uh, basically suggesting you're interested in a webinar or you want to download a white paper or something like that. We work in those cases if an advertiser is receiving a lot of emails that are fake, or that go through our systems and are just not legitimate. Again, we don't charge for those types of clicks, but we also tie that back to the publication and either go out and work with the publication to clean their lists, or block that publication if we think they're a bad actor and just trying to game the system. What Vasily was actually asking was, do we have the ability to include suppression lists? I'm assuming from the advertiser perspective. Right now we don't. I'll give some context for everybody else on what that means. So typically, or a lot of times, advertisers will go to an ad network, especially if it's an email ad network, and say, hey, here are the emails that we have that are already our customers, or they're people that we know we don't want to send ads to for whatever reason. The ability to upload that list as a suppression list would mean that when we're sending an ad out to a list of newsletters, ads don't go to the newsletters that have readers that are emails on that suppression list. Right now, we don't have the ability to do that, but it is on the roadmap for sure. And Anurag asks, is memes newsletters a good topic? Yeah, it depends on if there's a focus, if there's a niche. Again, the success of a newsletter on the ad network comes down to, ultimately, in the long term, the success of driving the right types of people to that advertiser site. So there's two things. One is creating content that is engaging, that has some version of a focus, so we as the ad network can identify the right ads to send you. And then the other is driving business results. I know I've said that multiple times, but essentially, if you have a meme newsletter that is very broad, tons of memes about different topics, but you have a really engaged audience, and every time we run an ad with you, you drive really high quality results to an advertiser, then yeah, totally, great topic, at least as it relates to advertising. It's possible that you have a meme account that has a ton of subscribers, good open rates, but they just don't engage with ads. In that case, it might not be the right topic. So the annoying answer is it depends, and it really depends on, are we driving, are we hitting the right people, do we have enough focus to understand what kind of advertisers we should put into that newsletter, and is there scale to drive results. I'll also say it depends on what your goals are for the newsletter. If you're running this as a side project, you want to make like $5-10 a day, and you're running it as a daily newsletter, and you get up to a couple thousand readers, and you run an ad and it gets a couple clicks, it seems like that solves, or that hits what your goals are. If you're trying to run it as a business, I would approach the process of building a newsletter in a slightly more calculated way. But at the end of the day, testing and learning is always good. Oh wow, cool. Anurag mentioned he manages 30 meme pages from which driving traffic to my newsletter. Cool. And yes, I agree. Check Google Trends. And you can copy some of that inspiration. Okay, cool. That was a solid minute of silence, which is not a bad thing. It just means there's no more questions or I answered everything. But yeah, I'll hang out for another minute, and if nobody else has questions, we'll close up for today. Oh yeah, Anurag, no worries. If you have others, feel free to throw them out, or you can send me an email. Um, but yeah, I don't believe we're going. I'll confirm with our team and we'll send out a tweet, but I don't know if we're going to do another office hours this week. I mean, this year. This might be the last one. We might gauge interest on an office hours at the end of last week. But if not, I will see you guys all in the new year. I did have 2 questions come in, so let me answer those quick. Gervin asked, are there any major updates coming to the ad network in the immediate future? There's going to be a couple things that will launch pretty quickly or pretty soon that are more UI changes. So a better calendar, better experience kind of choosing your advertisers. And we're also focusing on creative quite a bit. So I mentioned one thing around creative formatting. We also are going to start leaning into working with our advertisers or a bit more and just up leveling the quality of the creative. We've had a couple ads go out that honestly just the quality of the creative wasn't great, so we're going to focus there quite a bit. So those 2 things, kind of some UI changes and then quality of copy and creative. Do I do sessions about strategy to grow? I think we do have a couple growth webinars coming up. I think they're with EJ, somebody else on the beehiiv team. I will confirm and we'll tweet about it. If not, I'm down to put one on. Gervin asked, any specific best practices to keep in mind in terms of monetizing through the ad network? Yes. So making sure your newsletter is set up. So in settings, making sure you're tagged with 3 tags or as many tags as you can. The max is 3, as many tags that actually make sense. And then having a description in your newsletter and then being consistent is super important. And then also, if you receive an ad and you don't think it's a good fit, declining that ad versus letting it sit and expire, that's better for us. It's more deterministic data that we can use. Anurag asked, am I supposed to send my newsletter link? Oh, in the email. Yeah, send the link to the newsletter. That'd be great. Gervin asked, can we ever request to have a more diverse offering of ads? Yeah, that's one thing we're working on too. We want to have more diversity in the types of advertisements or types of advertisers that we're working with. We react to the supply that we have. So the types of newsletters that we have writing on the platform, we go out and try to find advertisers that would work for those publications. Sometimes we don't hit the mark all the time, but yes. You can always request it. Depending on who we have in the system at the moment, we may or may not be able to fulfill, but 100% request it. Cool. Okay. I think we'll call it here. This was great. Appreciate all the questions. Anurag sent me that note. Anurag has one last question. Let's do it. When do we get boost opportunities? So you can go into the Boost network and you can apply to boosts. So you can do that. And if you get approved, you have a certain window of time to send those boosts. That's the best way to be proactive. In terms of receiving invitations, that really depends on the folks that are running those boost campaigns if they identify your newsletter. Again, I will say tagging, descriptions, making sure all of your content and your profile of your newsletter is up to date. It'll enable the folks that are running those boosts to more easily be able to find you and identify that you're the right newsletter for them to boost. Yep. Gervin, I think the team is looking into that. Gervin mentioned that it's a little bit difficult when you get approved. You have a 72-hour window to run the boost, and that might not align to the time when or the cadence that you post your newsletter. I'll follow up with the boost team. I don't have a ton of context on if that's going to change or not, but I know it's been talked about. Cool. Cool. Okay. Awesome, guys and gals. Thanks for joining. Everyone have an awesome New Year, holidays, whatever you celebrate. Hope it's a good one. And we'll see you guys next year. All right, everyone.